So Firuza, I'm curious. There's so many tools. There's just for messaging. A lot of informal knowledge is shared through Slacks, Teams, and Facebook for nonprofits is really popular. So many messaging platforms. What's your experience there, and how do you kind of go through that chaos?
For sure. I think that's a great question. It's really easy these days to get bogged down by so many of the different options for messaging. Like, I think it's very true what you said about having so many different options. There's a lot of choice fatigue I've found in just sticking to one. I think the most important thing and something that I like to keep in mind is that the hardest part of something is just starting. And so regardless of what tool that you use, I think that the most important aspect of it is just picking one, sticking to it, and then just kind of tracking the results and seeing if any value was added on from there. In my past experience with a club, we all tried to transition onto using Slack from Facebook Messenger because it was considered kind of more of a professional platform. It's a lot easier to share workplace insights, and Slack has a little bit more of those features that you can use, such as timing when to send messages and other really convenient things. We found that it was just too foreign for some of the people in the club who were more used to that kind of casual discussion on Facebook Messenger. And so we ended up using it for a month, seeing that it didn't really work, and that's completely okay. It just means that that wasn't the right tool to use for us because it didn't add much value to our organization. So there are so many different tools floating around. One thing that I would say, just kind of pick one, see what happens. Trial and error, I think, is really important, especially in this really dynamic workplace when so many different things are changing, things are being innovated all the time. It's really easy. It's really important to kind of stay on your toes with that.
I like that because ultimately everybody's is stealing everybody's lunch in the sense that if there's a very nice feature, somebody else will use it. But if, regardless of the tool, you only used it for a month, for example, in your example, that's kind of not enough to draw any meaningful conclusion. And especially if during that month people start using other tools on the side, right? So choose a tool. Doesn't have to be the perfect one, but just choose a tool and commit, let's say, 3 months to it. But everybody has to use it. So the haters will be well informed haters and they'll have very good arguments for it, and vice versa. But you need, as a team, it's more important to have one tool to do that communication. And of course, an email doesn't serve the same purpose than a messaging app, than a Trello or like project management app. So it needs to be clear also what tool is used for what. Is Firuza, is there anything that Dennis said that you would like to highlight?
Everything.
Yeah,
um,
I like when
nothing is
he
coming to
said
my
so
mind.
many apps, not so many apps, like 7 organization or something like that. That's the one that comes in mind. Which one was yours?
Oh, I was just gonna say nothing coming to mind right now, but I'm
Okay.
thinking about it.
So what about the? So me, that's the good example because what I see a lot in nonprofits is they get involved in so many, you know, groups, organizations, and etc. So they're kind of flooded by all of those channels. So maybe I'll be curious to see Dennis what's his experience on that. When you get flooded by too many tools, do you start just hating them all equally, or is there some sort of strategy that you've seen that is winning, that tends to win more often when it comes to having too many tools?
That's a really tricky question, Mountain. To me, it's just a personal frustration when you're working with multiple organizations, everyone uses different tools, and especially if it's in one organization and they're using multiple tools. I've seen this come across when you're getting bombarded by messaging from many different sources, and to me, it just comes down to, I think, being a little bit authoritarian and creating some processes around which tools are used for what, and then holding people accountable to that. So everyone on the team kind of has to play police officer in a way to say, hey, we all made an agreement that we would use this tool for this tool for that, and create some processes around it. How you're going to document, how you're going to use the tool. Slack is a great one. I know we had a bit of a back and forth about that one before, that in Slack you have threads. So if a great conversation starts, let's not bombard the chat with just endless single messages. Use the threads. The tool is made there for that. And Valentin, you do a great job of, as you said, gardening, which is making sure that people use the right tool for the right way. So having those processes in place, getting people to use them, so building out some of that culture, some of the processes around it is super important. And saying, hey, we're gonna commit to this tool, we're gonna use it for a while, and bring everyone else up to speed. So sometimes it's necessary to do some training and take some time to step back and say, okay, like who's falling behind? What do we need to get those people up to speed? If we're going to be trying out this tool, if we're going to be implementing it and looking for success from that tool. Otherwise, it's all too easy for everyone to revert to, hey, I like using this, I like using that, and then no one is on the same page anymore. So to me, it really comes down to really someone kind of taking the authoritarian role and being the bad guy. Sometimes it's necessary to be a bad guy and not, have this flat structure where everyone can just kind of do what they feel is right. And to me, that sometimes someone has to step in, take that role, and say, hey, okay, we're gonna try this out.